Hello, my name is Daniel, and in this video I'm going to show you how to find the domain of a complex square root function. So anytime we're asked to find the domain, we're looking for the allowable inputs to the function. And certain functions have special restrictions. In this case, we're dealing with the square root. The square root has the special restriction of not accepting negative values. So I cannot put a -1, I cannot put a -2, I cannot put a -4 under a square root. So what that says is that anything I put under a square root must be at least 0 or greater. Or another way I can say that is whatever's under a square root must be greater than or equal to 0. So in order to find the domain of this particular function, I will start out by saying x squared minus 9, and I will set it greater than or equal to 0, and I'm going to need to solve it. In order to solve this, you guys might remember that x squared minus 9 looks a lot like a difference of squares, and it is. So in general terms, the difference of squares looks like this. A squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. So I will rewrite or factor this function here as x plus 3 times x minus 3 greater than or equal to 0. And from this point, I'm going to write a number line here. And we're going to look at our two factors. So the first factor we have is our x plus 3. So I will solve for my 0. Say x plus 3 equals 0, and I'll solve. So minus 3 from both sides. And x will equal -3 for this factor. And indeed, if I do put in a -3 here, -3 plus +3 here, I'm going to get a 0. So I know that this is the 0 or the root for this particular factor. So I know I have a -3 here. The other factor I have is going to be my x minus 3. So I will do the same thing here. X minus 3 equals 0. I will solve for x, so I will add 3 to both sides. And x will equal +3. And again, if I put in a +3 here, +3 minus 3, I will get 0. So I know that +3 is another root, and it is for this particular factor right here. So I will put a +3 here, and those are going to be it. So from this point, we know we're looking for values that are greater than or equal to 0. So right here, that line underneath here notes that we're looking for values that are at least equal to 0, and we just solved for them. So before looking at anything else, we already know that this -3 here and this +3 are going to be included in the solution set. So the next step is going to be finding our intervals to see where they are greater than or equal to 0, or greater than or less than 0. So we're looking for the positive intervals in this case. So in order to do that, we're going to take some test points. The first one we can take will be, let's say, to the left of -3 here, so something like -4. And if I put in a -4 to my factors, so a -4 here and a -4 here, I will say -4 plus 3, which will give me a -1, a -4 minus 3 will give me a -7, so a -1 times a -7 gives me a positive. So all of the values to the left of -3 here will be positive. If I take a test value in between -3 and 3, such as 0, I'm going to get 0 plus 3 and 0 minus 3. So +3 times -3 will give me a -9. So I know all of the values between -3 and 3 will be negative. And then the last interval is going to be to the right of +3 here. And let's take +4 as a test point. So if I put in a +4 here and a +4 here, I'm going to say +4 plus 3, that's going to give me +7. +4 minus 3 will give me +1. So +7 times +1 will give me positives on this side. So finding the domain of this function, like we said, we need the values that are greater than or equal to 0. So we're looking for the positive intervals in this case, which you've identified. The positive interval, one of them is here, and the other positive interval is here. So let's go ahead and identify our domain of this function now. Our domain of this function goes from -infinity all the way up to and including the -3, and we have another interval from +3 all the way up to infinity. In order to write our solution in interval notation, we will say domain is going to be equal to and we'll start from this negative infinity back here, so negative infinity, up to and including this negative 3 here, so negative 3. We will use a hard bracket to include the negative 3, and union, because we have another interval that we're going to combine here, and we will start from this positive 3, again, hard bracket because we're including that positive 3, and up to infinity. And this is going to be the domain of our function here. F of x equals the square root of x squared minus 9. I hope this has been helpful. If you are still having trouble, please reach out to us for more help. Thanks for watching and have a great day.